It's a crowded studio for this episode of We're No Damn Experts. We're talking with three of the organizers of the upcoming Gathering of Families and Traditional Native Games event. We'll learn the importance behind these events, why our organizers are so passionate about it, and how you can participate.
Best damn podcast, the best damn town. You want to get up, get ready to get down. With its big wide sky and the wild river Thames, if you want to go, we can take you there to Great Falls, Montana.
Welcome to the greatest damn town in Montana, Great Falls. I'm Rebecca Ingham.
I'm Shannon Newth,
and we're No Damn Experts. Today in the studio, I'm super stoked, Shannon.
Yeah, we have a packed house today.
Yes, I have seen two of our guests speak before about this topic that we're going to cover, and it has been so enlightening. I am excited because they're passionate about what they do.
Yeah.
And I'm going to introduce them as a collective,
Okay.
which people are just going to love because that is the first time that's ever happened. Yeah. The team behind all the elements for the Gathering of Families that's happening here in Great Falls. Mm-hmm. Thank you, team, for being here. And I'm going to kick it off and let you each introduce who you are, what you do, and, well, we'll get into more. But let's start there.
Anishinaabe, Inanendao, Makwa, Shitiguan. I'm Travis Wilmore. I'm the executive director for the International Traditional Games Society. I, along with my team, have been planning and putting forth all the efforts to make this event here in October in the Great Falls and surrounding areas the best event it could possibly be.
Cool.
Going 24/7 with that at this point, too. Yeah.
Just minor difficulties.
We've got a full house here.
We're figuring it out.
Yeah, we have this mic. And I'm trying to get it
yes,
in,
we're
Brandon.
sharing a microphone over here, people.
Brandon's personal space.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But Tansit, CP Guel, Piisewak, how are you? Blue Thunder. My English name is Tristen Bellegarde. I'm the youth director at Western Native Voice, and I am collaborating with International Traditional Game Society. Our two organizations are partnering together for this youth conference, and we're very excited about the youth conference. It's next month, October 12th through the 13th at MSU Great Falls. We have a lot of happening, so I'm not going to brush up on that. I'm going to let Brandon get to his introductions, and then we'll just let this flow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, up next.
Next up.
Okini Danaku Tempitapoke Nitsa Pikatsim Brandon Fish Namoktuktu Moke Bisito Moy Amadosi Kakadosi Ide Skatskin Tokyo Ninitsadapi. Hello, my name is Hatsimpitapoke and my English name is Brandon Fish. I come from Red Blanket Hill, West Star School, and I'm Blackfeet from the Amskawi Pikani, which is Southern Pagan. We have 4 different bands in which we make the Blackfoot Confederacy, the Siksikates Itapi. I'm a member of the Canuck Sumatics, the Crazy Dog / Brave Dog Society, which is a warrior society. I was raised on the north backside of Red Blanket Hill, had the headwaters of Cupcake River drainage, and in the community of Great Falls. So my job description with the International Traditional Game Society is lead instructor / outreach coordinator. As an organization, we address barrier reduction to provide indigenous cultural enrichment opportunities, activities, and coordinate to identify resources to meet those needs. Through our International Traditional Game Society, we are able to provide a lens of understanding with indigenous knowledge and pathways. Our objectives are to assist in creating healthy relationships and strengthening the nuclear family unit with traditional instruction, storytelling, smudging, transfers, language, and embracing the spirit of the games.
That is a tall order.
Yes, it is.
You made
It's a
me
lot
look
that you
bad.
do. Shortest intro over there. Yeah.
Hey, it's not competition,
Right.
Even if, but Brandon's winning, obviously. So Brandon shared he's Blackfoot. What tribes do each of you belong to? Travis, Tristen.
I'm enrolled Little Shell.
Okay,
Okay.
And Chippewa Cree from Rocky Boy.
that's
Ah.
awesome. So we've got all of our kind of north central
That's great.
areas represented.
Mm-hmm.
So, how long have? That is the wrong question completely.
I have a question.
Okay.
Does that work?
There,
While
go ahead.
you figure out your question. Okay. Or it's not necessarily a question, but I love that you all introduced yourselves in your language with your names. Can you tell people more about the significance?
Oh, that's a way better question.
Can you tell people more about the significance of that, so they people kind of get an understanding of why that's so important that you introduce yourself that way?
Yes.
Great.
Now he has no words.
So we introduce ourselves in our language because it identifies where we come from. And language is land-based and community-based. So when I told you who I am, I also told you, I would also tell you who my parents are and the place I grew up at. So that way you know who my people are and you can refer back to, that connection to community.
You guys have undertaken what I can only assume is a huge endeavor. The gathering of families, I think, has happened in the past, but not to the same level as it is happening this year. And as it continues to grow, it's going to be it is an amazing thing now, but as it continues to grow, more and more people can become involved in that. So can you share what the gathering of families is? We got the plug for when it was. So anybody want to knock that one out of the park?
Yeah, so the Gathering of Families, it was a project that came from our own research with Native American youth and families from starting around 2018. They expressed a desire to see culturally relevant activities for themselves and families on and off tribal lands, and it expanded to include all people because of the positive past visitor responses to Native events we've hosted and also hosted by our partners. And we did try to have and this was before my time with the company, they did try to have it earlier, but that was kind of kiboshed through COVID.
Yep.
And that ruined, I shouldn't say ruined, but that stopped a lot of things. And so they had a smaller tournament, and this is our first all-out Native Games tournament. We're trying to bring all the tribes of Montana together for a week of learning about the tribes' cultures here in Montana. There's so many different tribes, so many different cultural takes on things. So we're bringing everyone together to play some games, have some competition, have a good time, but also to learn and to share with the communities around us.
Mm-hmm. So as Brandon mentioned, your language is really connected to your area. Are the games themselves different by tribe as well?
Yes. So they are different, I guess you could say, per family or per tribal affiliation. So
Okay.
there is like hoop and arrow games, and they're done different according to, if it was Salish, they would have like, I believe it's 5 arrows. And then there would be throwing 5 arrows at once at a hoop. Versus if it was a Blackfeet hoop and arrow game, well, that one would just be specifically for the men. And then you would have like horsehair at the end of the arrow, and you would have to call out a certain horse as soon as that hoop would hit a certain object. So they're done in different ways, but there's many ways to play games.
So, gathering of families will include more than just the traditional games. Is this correct?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to talk about both of those things, both the International Game Society and then Gathering of Families. Tristen, you come in on Western Native Voice. What's that organization do? And you as the youth director, like, what's your deal?
Well, first of all, Western Native Voice, we're nonpartisan and a nonprofit. But essentially what we do is we go to these underserved communities, primarily reservations.
Okay.
And we try to let residents or tribal members know of, of issues which are pertinent to them. So we really focus on that, and we try to encourage them to make a change. We just provide information, and from there, they make an informed decision. But for the most part, we let them know of happenings, and we host community events. So recently, as an organization, we just got done with a community, or not got done, we're wrapped up our little section. So we have Rocky Boy and Fort Belknap coming up in October. But after we wrap up those two locations, that'll consist of our tribal community tour. So we just literally went from community to community, driving in, as you know, Montana's a big state.
Yeah.
It's huge.
So driving 6 hours, we were talking to these guys from Atlanta, and they're like, 3 hours, that's literally, the next state.
Nope.
For them, that's unheard of here
Yeah.
in Montana. 6
Yeah.
hours is just another day of driving. So speaking of driving, they drove 3 hours to get here. And we've racked up some miles on our cars, but it's all worth the work that we're doing. And you have to be passionate about it. So I feel like everybody that we have at our organization and these two gentlemen beside me, we really believe what we're working towards, and that makes it all worth it.
You just had that feed and meet with the Little Shell community too, didn't you?
We did, yes. So in my area, I'm the youth director, but as an organization, we're kind of small, similar to these guys.
Yeah.
So we really have to help each other. I know with COVID and all that type of stuff, that's the workload has kind of went up in all areas. So trying to not get overwhelmed is kind of a paradox, in terms of workload and trying to have a social life. But I feel like we're
social
all
life,
finding
smotional life.
Yeah.
When you do your outreach, is it going to, because like the Blackfeet Reservation includes many different communities.
Right.
Are you going to each community, or are you going to like the tribal council and disseminating from there?
Right. So we kind of looked at the map on each area. So for instance, you talked about Blackfeet. We went to Heartview, Browning, and then I think they went to Bab.
Okay.
So all those areas, those are identified areas in which there's little communities. So we try to really recognize those communities. And in all these reservations, there's usually a smaller community. So we really try to pay attention to that and dedicate time and let people know that we recognize that. And pretty much in these reservations, there's usually like a capital of each of them, like a quote unquote capital.
Yeah.
But not really. But for the most part, they're all agencies, and the agencies are primarily where they have their tribal governments at.
Yeah.
But we did meet with tribal leaders and give them gifts and just kind of let them know, kind of getting everybody's blessing. We don't go into no community without any authorization. So we pay attention to that, and it helps being from communities to where you have that insight and you have that connection. But pretty much that answers your question.
Yep. My other question, which you may or may not know, but I'm just going to ask it because I also don't know, which I should. How many different tribes are represented in the state of Montana?
So I believe there is 12 tribes. There may be, I heard my executive director say 13. So I mean, I'd have to go either 12 or 13 is
I'm gonna
what
go
for
with-
sure I could tell you.
I'm going to go with 12.
Okay.
And then there's 7 reservations.
7
correct?
reservations
Okay.
with the Little Shell. We're talking about
Yeah.
Great Falls community and
Yeah.
shedding some light on the Little Shell, but they're currently working on getting a reservation and all that stuff's in the talk. These are 2 tribal members, so there'd be 2 better gentlemen to discuss that. Yeah.
Okay.
Also, I wanted to add with the Great Falls area, Great Falls Public School has 50 tribes represented in
Oh my goodness, really?
from all over the nation. So
Wow.
there is a big tribal community here in Great Falls.
Yeah.
Can you just slow down and say that number again? Because I think that's something.
50.
I think that's something people fully don't understand.
Yeah.
How many different tribes become a melting pot across the United States and Montana included. Great Falls, definitely part of the United States still.
Yeah, for now.
I apologize. Today's really just an off day. I'm guessing it's going to get worse, but maybe it'll get better.
Still the morning over here. Yeah. No, I wanted to ask all of you, but I'll start with Tristen just because we were talking with you. You guys obviously are passionate about this, putting your heart and souls into this. Why is this something that you feel is important, not only for your own families and communities, but for the greater community as a whole to witness and see these things? Why is this something you want to be a part of, and why is it important?
That's a very good question, and sometimes I ask myself that. Like we were on a tour, and there's a lot of long hours.
Hour 25 on the road.
Absolutely. But pretty much to my essence, I've grew up on a reservation in Rocky Boy. For the most part, reservations, they tend to be spread out, resources thin. Recognizing that, I just know that there's a lot of people that were in those positions because it's not easy coming from a reservation. There's a lot of hardships that could easily break the average person. But I know that historically speaking, and it kind of touching on our conference, the whole purpose of that is, as Native Americans, we've had a lot of things in history, and that's not try to shed light or anything, but just realizing that we come from a place where at one time it was hard to pick yourself up. And we have a lot of things like mental health that we touch on, but realizing that there's a lot of young students that are going through that currently, and trying to really affect change the best that we can through healthcare, through any of these things, So with my resources, I feel like we're just going to get one generation better. And just with that mindset, that's really how I approach it. And I feel like just trying to push the envelope further, next person in my position or something similar, and just trying to inspire students really to make a change, because there's a lot of temptations and a lot of things to fall into just in any place, but primarily in the reservations, that's really prominent. So letting students know that there's a better path and that you don't have to fall victim to a lot of stuff. So really, that's why I do what I do.
That's a huge
Yes.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a huge weight to carry.
Yes, it is.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So like you said, just one day at a time, one
Yes.
generation at a time.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't pretend to be an expert on many topics, but in my conversations with Little Shell tribal member James Parker Shield, we did a 3-part series with him kind of on the history of the Little Shell and Indians within this area. One of the big things that I learned at a young age is just the difference in how family structures were on the reservation or within the tribal nations versus the way I grew up. I grew up in a home that had a mom and a dad, and that was it. Like, we didn't live near our grandparents, our aunts, or our uncles. But that's a different situation historically for tribes, if I am not mistaken, and if I remember correctly. Anybody want to expand on what a family unit kind of looked like and looks like today for?
Yeah, so I'll just kind of take a little bit of it, and I'll let Brandon take over. But I guess I just speak to current day, and I do have a history degree. but I also want these other gentlemen to contribute because they got stuff of value as well. But current day, a lot of these families are kind of broken too. Grandmothers raising grandkids, things along those lines. So the family structure is kind of, sometimes there's not a family structure. Sometimes, with ICWA getting past that helped as far as with the family system. We want to keep children with each other's families. But sometimes there's no support system for some of these students. So getting back to the youth aspect of it, that's kind of why we're really emphasizing these gatherings is for some of them, there's no family system. So pretty much it's something where we want them to feel welcome and kind of foreshadowing this event. That's really what we're doing is we're trying to have a place where everyone could feel welcome and connected and kind of exchange resources and pretty much just have a gathering of all tribes. Powwows commonly is just one tribe, and pretty much it's not just Montana tribes. It's a lot of different when you're getting into the powwow trail and stuff. So I'll let Brandon contribute some of his knowledge.
Okay. That will be helpful for people like me, because I assume there's a lot of people like me. Think they know stuff and they don't.
So, most tribes come from a matriarch, and it's our women that have control of the household.
Okay.
So, where that comes from, we see in our environments, especially if you're a Buffalo culture. So I spent about 8 years volunteering with the Buffalo Field Program there in Browning, and was actively involved in being a part of those discussions. But where we picked that up from originally came from our Buffalo nations, because of how they are structured is a matriarch. So you have, instead of a bull leading, you have your head cows, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it'd be the same thing within a family. It is our mothers that leads our family. So why we're really close knit is because we had to be, going through the termination era, self-determination, what we're seeing today. In order for us to survive, we had to come together as families, and that's just how it's always been. It was in support of the tribe and not the individual. Yeah. So if somebody is struggling in your family, it is up to the person, the head of your family, to take care of them. And this is what is happening in my household is from losing my siblings, I have my sister-in-law and her daughter staying with me.
Okay.
Then I have my sister staying with me. Then I have my dad staying with me and my children. And I took on that role to help lead them to where that we're, okay, or if we're prosperous, and this is another healthy approach, especially with the world that we live in today, where it creates like a lot of confusion, especially with what we see on social media, what is available as far as pharmaceuticals or alternative medicines. Well, with having access to those things, it creates somebody to really question who they are as far as identifying themselves. So what we're trying to do is reignite those connections to our identity of where we come from, who we are, and knowing that we are still here.
So at the gathering of families, is there more happening than just the traditional games that kind of begin to address all of these really big topics?
Yeah, so one of my main focuses for the gathering of family is I've come from a corrections background, and I also have done work with opioid use here in town and stuff like that. And one of the things that's been proven is culture is prevention. Culture is prevention for addiction, mental health, suicide prevention, all these things. It's been proven to help with adults. So imagine what happens when you bring the culture back to the kids before they have those issues. You give them that self-respect early so they have that identity, their cultural identity as a kid. And so on saying that, we're starting it off with our event with a traditional pipe ceremony.
Oh.
We're going to be setting up a teepee village at the First People's Buffalo Jump.
Can I ask a question real quick on that? Are all people invited to first the gathering of families and second the pipe ceremony?
All people are welcome.
Okay. Good. Now you can go on. I didn't want people to get through this and go, can I go? Because we do get a lot of questions of people who walk in, they always want to go see a rodeo and a powwow, like they go together like ice cream and fudge. I'm like they're so separate things.
So especially with being in Great Falls, being so culturally diverse here, especially having the Air Force Base here and everything, we want everyone to come out. It's to help stop some of the social bias and things you have to learn. So we invite everyone to come out, learn, play games with us, have fun, and know that it's not everyone's welcome. It's not going to be a bad time. You're gonna go home with some smiles and memories.
Yeah.
So the pipe ceremony kicks everything off. What's the history behind the pipe ceremony?
So that pipe ceremony is a blessing of the grounds.
Oh.
And what we're doing essentially is we're inviting all of our ancestors, all of our people together, and to go in a good way. So that way, if there is any type of negative thoughts or negative feelings, and our way of knowing, that's what helps ground ourselves. And so we're able to, let some stuff go. And that's one thing is that mental health topic, it prevents us from moving forward. So this is a way for us to move forward.
Okay. What else is on the docket?
This is just for Saturday, October 8th. So we got the pipe ceremony.
It's a whole week long, right?
The teepee village set up. So we have a section set out at First People's Buffalo Jump for people to come camp. We strongly encourage to bring traditional lodges. If you don't have one, bring a tent, bring what you have. Let's make a nice little community out there for this.
And we only have 7 spots for 40-foot RVs.
Okay.
Oh.
So first come, first serve.
I don't. RVs seem a little too posh, I think.
Yes.
And would you take volunteers to help set up the teepees? Because I've heard that they're a little bit labor intensive, and young people really should use their back and learn how to set them up.
Yeah, we'll take volunteers on any day for anything.
Yeah.
Okay. What else on Saturday?
We're going to be starting off with a Red Rover stick game tournament.
Okay.
And also a round dance.
Okay.
Cool.
And that's going to end for our opening night.
So that will be at the Four Seasons Arena, the round dance.
Okay.
And then the exhibition hall is the Red Rover tournament, which is a stick game tournament.
Can you educate our listeners about what a round dance is?
Round dance is kind of just how do I explain it? It's being thankful for your community. The community comes together. You dance. You give thanks. You laugh with your neighbors, community, and at the end you are halfway through. Usually there'll be a feed, so you eat, celebrate, pray, and then dance. Welcome your ancestors in. That's what the round dance is, bringing in, dancing for your ancestors, welcoming them back. So it's a together thing. It's bringing the community together.
So Saturday could be summarized as Togetherness Day.
Yes.
Bring everything together.
Actually, the event starts on Sunday.
Oh, yes.
Because
Sunday, October 8th.
October 8th is a Sunday, and then October 9th is a Monday.
Okay.
All right, so that kicks everything off. on Sunday.
And
We have a lot more to come.
yeah, so Monday, which is the Indigenous Peoples Day.
Okay.
We're starting off with another pipe ceremony, and then we're at the Four Seasons Arena. We're gonna have a traditional powwow.
Oh.
And then also at the same location, we're gonna be having a high school and open for adults and families. So there'll be 2 different stick tournaments. This is 4 prizes.
Okay.
The first one, the Red Rover tournament, is more of like a get to know the game.
Okay.
And the next day is the actual
Serious
competition.
time. Okay.
You know, put your money up. See
Money's
what's
on the
going
line. You better
Hey,
bring
got
your A game.
Get one day of practice,
Monday.
then you go. Okay.
Okay.
And then moving on to Tuesday, October 10th, we're again having the traditional pipe ceremony at the encampment. And this starts off our high school activities for our high school age students.
Okay.
So for Tuesday, Fort Belknap is actually hosting the youth day with the breakfast, the lunch, and the dinner. And then today we just got confirmation from their tribal council that they're going to sponsor kids coming out of their tribe and their elders. And they're going to help them travel here, pay for their food. And then they'll participate in the tournament.
Do you think there was a conversation like, hey, we're going to sponsor you as an athlete down there. You better not bring us shame. You better come back with prizes.
That's what we want, though. We want the tribes to get that competitive edge. Like, what we want this to be is an annual event, kind of like going to state for football.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Bragging
everyone's
rights.
happy with that. But imagine if your tribe brings home the Shinny Cup.
Ooh.
That's.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
I turn everything into a competition. So,
So she's all about it.
yeah, I'm pretty excited about this aspect. Everybody can watch. Who can participate?
This for the high school events. That's for high school age students. That's the only requirement we have. We are reaching out to, because it is a school day. Tuesday is a school day.
Yeah.
We are reaching out. In fact, Great Falls Public Schools, we have a meeting on our Tawny Lavender, one of our employees with ITGS, is going to Great Falls High and CMR Monday and Tuesday, and is going to be teaching the students and teachers there how to do the game so they can send a team up.
Nice.
Sweet.
Okay. And that was just Tuesday, right?
Yes.
Okay.
No, that was Monday.
Monday. Okay.
Tuesday we got Tuesday's the games, but we're also having multiple events. We're having this was Brandon's idea. Do you want to talk about the Buffalo Run?
Sure.
Oh, yeah. I
So-
think I know what this is, and if it's the same thing, I think I'm pretty stoked about it.
So we're calling it a Buffalo Biathlon Run.
Okay.
And it has to do with commemorating our Buffalo runners for when we had to lead bison over the Buffalo Jump.
Yeah.
So what they will do is they will start at the interpretive center, and they'll climb up the Buffalo Jump, go all the way to the edge of where that where that turnoff is to the parking lot on top, and then they'll come back down off to the east side of the jump, and then they'll end at the interpretive center. So that's 3.5 miles. So after they run, they're gonna have 3 chances to bow shoot.
Okay.
At 10 yards, 20 yards, and 30 yards. At 40 yards, they're going to do a long arrow toss. Then at 50 yards, they're going to do an atlatl toss.
Ooh.
And that will be our point system, is those shots.
Wow.
We thought about doing a time trial, but it's just too demanding, and we just don't have enough volunteers to, track everybody's time. So as soon as we have all their participants cross that finish line, then they can do their shooting.
Okay.
But every member has to cross that finish line before they shoot.
Is it an individual or a team sport?
So this is a team sport. We want 5 runners at least,
Okay.
because what you had is your 2 buffalo runners who would wear buffalo calves, and then you had other runners who dressed up like coyotes.
That's
And
right.
the way that was designed is the coyotes would herd him from the back, and the buffalo runners would lead him up the jump. So they had to work as a team.
Yep.
So that is the whole purpose of having up to 5 runners do this run, and then the bow shooting the long arrow tossing and the lateral tossing.
Okay.
That sounds really fun to watch and really intense to be a participant.
I feel like I would. It seems like something you should do and not watch, but I'm not athletically inclined enough to run or throw things, so
Maybe you're
I'm
good
gonna
at
just
being
have to be a spectator.
Yeah.
And,
Are any of you participating in that?
I'm a coach.
Hey, that's a good seat to have.
Uh-huh.
But it's a really cool route too, because the route Brandon marked out goes up onto the buffalo jump and back down.
That's
and around.
really neat. Yeah. And challenging because there's some elevation gain there. Yeah.
All right, what else can we expect? I mean, we haven't even gotten halfway through the week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Tuesday we'll also have lodge stories throughout the day.
Yeah.
In our traditional encampment, people being able to tell stories. We also have the powwow harbor out there that we will be utilizing. Charlie Russell Museum also is partnering with this, and on that day they haven't given us a time when they're doing it, but they're going to be having native languages and arts at their facility
Oh, nice.
here in Great Falls.
Yeah.
Moving on to Wednesday, we're having another pipe ceremony to start the day off, and that's what we're wanting to do every morning with our traditional
Seems
encampment.
like a really good way for anybody to start their day, or at least that mindset, that idea is really great. Something we should all incorporate in some way in our lives, it seems. Yeah.
And so this day is more open to the public.
Okay.
It's not just high school age students. Now we're having individual competitions for youth and family earlier in the day. And then we're going to traditional horse culture. So we're going to have like the Indian relay race, some horse wrestling, a whole bunch of fun stuff. I know people are always interested in that. I know that you mentioned people say the powwow and rodeos go together. So this is kind of
the way you do that.
The way you do that. I think you have the same question. Go ahead.
Horse wrestling?
Yeah. What's that?
It's exactly what it
Okay.
sounds like.
Okay.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So growing up on a ranch, we would wrestle cows for branding. We are literally talking the same techniques.
No. You'd
Oh.
be on top of the horse, like me and Brandon were going against each other.
Oh, so
I'd
the
be trying to
humans are
wrestle
wrestling
him off.
other
Okay.
humans.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it is not like it sounds.
I was like, there's hooves. These are large animals. I don't want to wrestle a horse.
I can take down a calf while it's getting branded, but I
Yeah.
don't have any
Okay.
misgivings that I could do it with a horse.
So humans are wrestling humans still.
Off of a
Yeah.
horse.
Okay. Got it.
That is, you can't register for those events though because
Okay.
of liability. So we've having
That seems smart. Yeah.
practice and seasoned teams come out for it.
Okay.
So we're not just having anyone show up. I'm going to hop on this
That
horse.
seems like a smart idea for you
Hey.
guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would be on top of that one.
Yeah. Rebecca was
So
going to sign up.
For retract back to Tuesday, that night we're gonna bring out telescopes and we're gonna do star stories.
Oh, neat.
Oh.
We're gonna do a star exploratorium out there. I'm gonna have the lasers and just
Cool.
make it into an evening show.
That sounds
And,
really neat.
That does.
But-
Yeah.
We have commitments from the Crow tribal elders to come and tell stories. From Blackfeet tribal elders to come stories. From the Fort Belknap tribe, we have tribal elders coming forward to tell stories. And it'll be a great way when we have this encampment if kids do show up, but also adults that need to reconnect to their tribes. It'd be a great way to start to know where they come from.
Neat.
Well, and for people who have no idea
Yes.
how that connection to the earth and the sky are for Native families.
Mm-hmm.
Travis, you're back on. What else is happening?
We were on Wednesday, right?
Yes.
So we also have in partnership with Great Falls Public Schools for their cross-country meet they're having that day. They're going to be doing a native kickball race
Oh, fun.
during that. So we'll be there and having them do that and judging that.
And kickball is a traditional game then?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's
thank
kind
you.
of like it's a ball with a cord coming off of it,
Okay.
so to say.
Okay.
Sometimes it's braided. You could be beaded, however someone kind of designs it. But the goal for that concept is to run while kicking it, kind of like a kind of like a soccer ball, but it's a lot smaller, more about the size of a hacky sack.
Okay.
Okay.
And from one destination to the next.
Oh.
And that's going to be at the Anaconda golf
Golf
course.
course.
I could see
their
myself
Great
tripping
setting.
so many times.
Yeah. It sounds really easy until you're actually
No.
up there trying to do it. And then you're
Yeah, it does not sound easy.
All right.
Moving forward with that, also another partner is the Lewis and Clark Interpreter Center here in Great Falls. They're going to be on that day showing youth films, native youth films that are award-winning films
Neat.
in their theater. When you go in there, it's off to the right.
Yep. It's a nice theater.
It is.
And that's also in partnership with MAPS, the MAPS program.
What's MAPS?
I know them as MAPS. I think it's that abbreviation.
I could assist with that. So MAPS is MAPS Media Institute. So it's for like high school students. It's pretty much for film and things related to that.
Okay.
Yeah, so they do like short films and pretty much just provide equipment for that. But they do have the youth drive all these types of films and stuff. So yeah, they've connected with ITGS and they're gonna be showing that, and they'll be at our event as well.
That's cool.
Very cool. Yeah.
So
Really haven't heard anything that's going to be crappy, so I don't know why I keep saying that's cool.
we try to keep things interesting.
Yeah.
So
Good call.
also Wednesday is our last day of our traditional encampment.
Okay. So you got to pack up and move out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not.
Are you going to move, like pack up and move to somewhere else, or
We don't
just
have-
be done?
That would be the done with that area.
Okay.
I don't think we have anything else scheduled out at the First People's Buffalo Jump. I don't think they're gonna evict anybody.
Good to know.
But like you can't stay there forever.
Yeah. So start thinking about packing up.
But we
Okay.
do have a double ball tournament and a shinny ball tournament.
And Sailor's Hoop and Arrow.
Yeah, and Sailor's Hoop and Arrow.
Okay.
Plus, there's other stations that are going to be out there, so it'd be a good time to come and, do your thing, show your skills,
Win a prize
win a prize.
if you're
yeah.
good enough. Yeah.
Yeah. So moving on to that Thursday, October 12th, is going to start our conferences. So
Okay.
we're hosting. We originally called it the Healing and Play Conference, but we've changed the name to the Ecology of Indigenous Healing. And this conference will highlight Montana tribes telling the stories of hope and healing, as well as the traditional values that are promoted for survival. We've invited speakers who carry the knowledge of history, culture, and language, and those who have done intense work to restore justice for the land and its beings. We had 3 subjects for our speakers, and the first one was traditional games for social, emotional, and physical and spiritual healing. The second one was tribal language for cultural understanding of healthy living, family, and communities. 3, social justice issues, healing and reconciliation. And 4, the natural world for spirit and healing.
Wow.
So we've had a big response for this. This is an event we are charging for.
Okay.
We're aiming it to be a learning thing. It could go for anyone, people in public schools, people who work in the Native communities, get a little bit more understanding on. We are charging for that. However, nothing that we're doing during this event is for profit. All that money is going back to bring our speakers here to speak.
Okay.
Makes sense. Yeah. Good deal. And that's, again, open to anybody can come and
Yep.
listen in on
Well,
those.
They have to
anybody
sign
who
up.
registers and pays the money.
Well, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Don't think you're just going to get that education for free.
Yeah.
And then we've partnered with Western Native Voice to do the youth conference, and I'll turn that over to Tristen to speak on that.
What are they going to be doing at the youth conference?
Well, they're gonna be doing a lot of stuff.
And it's just a day?
It's 2 days.
Oh.
So it's from 8 to roughly about 6 o'clock both days.
Big days.
Yeah.
But our concept is Gathering of Families is the name of the conference. But the theme behind it is Beyond Survival. So the concept behind that, I'll just kind of give you guys a little summary of it.
Yeah.
It's pretty much just as Native people, we survived a lot of stuff. And then even like on a personal level, like we all go through stuff. We've survived a lot of stuff on, as an individual. But now it's time to get to a point to start living and not just surviving. And another example is to actually start tasting food, not just eating for sustenance, actually eating and tasting it. So for me, I like my steak medium. So it's actually like enjoying it, enjoying the medium steak when you cut it like butter, not just eating it. So same thing with that concept of beyond survival. It's letting our youth know that there's more to life than just surviving and inhabiting a place that you could actually live and enjoy it.
My understanding is traditional language and traditional games and traditional food is something that's been lost through a lot of different reasons, but hasn't been transferred from generation to generation. Is this looking to help backfill some of that so all people know what that is?
Absolutely. With us, like I said, we're not going to solve all these things that had happened in history, just being honest, but at the same time, providing a solution and a framework to be able to get to a place where we could feel like I don't want to say corrected it, but at a place where we're feeling like we're at the same level, or we feel like we got through those things. But on the same level, that's what the gathering of families is welcoming people, trying to build these connections, and at the same time for non-natives to educate and provide a format or a forum for these questions, and really just welcome people. Like I tell my students that I work with, and my background is teaching, so a lot of it is, at a certain point, there's no excuse for when you're an adult, there's no excuse to not be educated on stuff. That's your responsibility to educate yourself. As a youth, maybe you have that excuse, but as an adult, we all have access to the library. We all have access to the internet. Yep. We all have access to these communities. Speaking about Great Falls, the Little Shelter here, people wanted to ask questions or learn about them. There's a perfect opportunity for that. So I let people know, emphasize that at a certain point, there's no excuse for not knowing, I guess, yes.
Well, and I think one of the big things is, it wasn't until I had good conversations with James Parker Shield how recent some of the things that you will look back in history and think, oh, that was 100 years ago or 1,000 years ago. And we're like, nope, it was like 20 or 50 years ago.
Yeah, even to touch base on that, like the systematic breakdown of the families, the boarding schools. Legally, we weren't allowed to practice our culture and our ways until I think it was the 70s, Indian Civil Rights Act.
Which is
that's
recent.
Yeah,
that's not
that long ago.
That's not history.
Right. Yeah.
So that's, I guess, let me just underlie all of that. That's why I think this is such an important thing to have happen. And I love that it's happening here because it isn't history. And as we all know, if we don't learn and educate, then we're doomed to replicate things that we shouldn't be replicating. And this is the perfect opportunity to educate and engage in understanding all the cool things that will be happening during the gathering of families.
Yeah. Okay.
So what else?
Back on track with the timeline.
So that Friday, we're both doing our conferences again.
Okay.
Right.
Both the conferences, the
Thursday,
youth
Friday.
and adult, are both days. We're going to be having a family gathering 3 to 9 on October 13th. This is going to be at the Mansfield
Friday.
Civic Center.
Okay.
It's going to be like a game con type thing.
Oh.
We're going to have a feed, invite families, all ages, come over there, have some food. We're going to have virtual reality games, traditional games. We're going to have music. Welcome. It's Friday the 13th. It's October. We're welcoming people to come dress up, have fun, and just come together as a family. It's the top off the gathering of families with the gathering of the families.
Yeah.
Bring everyone here. Let's just have a good time. It's a free event. We're not charging anything. We just want people to come through and have a good time.
Basically, everything is free except the educational symposiums, if you will. That's
So what's
And,
the registration fee for the 2-day conference?
The adult 2-day conference is $300.
Okay. Are the youth being charged? No.
okay.
Okay.
Good deal.
That's not bad.
So, to touch base on Friday, we are also doing a grand opening of our Learning Lodge Expo at the Montana Children's Museum
Oh,
at noon. And we invite everybody to come in and see the work that we're progressively doing.
yeah.
So, the way that came about was that there was little representation of, of anything of art. So the whole purpose of that area is to bring our tribal elders in there to be able to teach children. But also we made depictions of different stories and timelines within that area, and it's in an interactive environment. So we want to platform our artists, but we also want it publicly known that this is a movement that is taking place here in Great Falls. We are actively accepting any help or donations towards it.
Okay.
And the same thing with the Mansfield Center. If you want to be involved with that, contact our admin at admin traditionalnativegames.org.
Yeah, admin at traditionalnativegames.
We'll make sure it's in the show
Okay.
notes
Yes.
so people can get quick access to that. So just give money, people. It's for a
Yes.
good cause.
Exactly.
Not just money, but if an organization wants to come forward with any tabletop gaming, any dice gaming, any card gaming, we have open spaces for them in
for Friday night's event
yeah.
at the Mansfield.
Awesome.
So we covered up to Friday.
We got one last event Saturday,
right.
October 14th.
14.
It's 11 to 12. We got the permits for it. We're going to do a parade / unity walk down
Oh.
Neat.
downtown Great Falls.
Very
It's
cool.
the all-family walk celebrating all cultures of Montana.
That'll be
So
neat.
we're inviting everyone to walk with us.
Yeah.
Just letting people know that we're here, we're together, and we're not going nowhere.
Seems like a really good way to cap off the week with all of that, everyone coming together. Yeah.
And I would like to give a shout out to the mayor, Mr. Kelly. He's been on our side and helping throughout this whole process.
Awesome.
That's good to hear. Mayor Bob.
Yes.
Now, a few questions that I have. There's always intent. It's not like a powwow is just a fancy event for people to get together and eat. There's reasons why powwows happen. Can you share what someone should know going into a powwow, what the meaning behind it is, and what they can and cannot do? If there's anything they can and cannot do?
So we get this question asked all the time. I feel like
Finally
almost
getting it
at every,
answered now.
I feel like at almost every powwow people bring that up too, especially the etiquette part. You can Google that, you can find it. But
Okay.
the biggest thing is just be respectful. Be respectful. Know that not everyone wants their pictures taken. They can find that disrespectful. Ask questions. Like, no one's going to be mad if you ask a question.
Okay.
You want to take a picture? Hey, do you mind if I take a picture? If you don't know if you should sit there, hey, is it cool if I sit here? Yeah. So just be respectful. Like, don't think you own the place, or think that because I think it was Crow Fair that people had to pay to get in, but don't think that just because you paid to get in, you're gonna get special treatment or something. Just like all of our stuff's free. Just come, have a good time. If you have questions, ask questions. We're gonna be posting some powwow etiquette on our Facebook and socials before the event as well, just to keep people on board. I've had practice with the Little Shell Powwow Committee. So
Okay. What happens at a powwow?
what happens? A lot of singing and dancing and
Eating.
families coming together.
There is eating.
Yeah.
The way the powwows were explained to me was it's you dancing with your ancestors, you fulfilling pledges as well, because you can dance for reasons and ceremonies, and it's a form of ceremony and prayer as well.
Okay, perfect. Now, the different games that will be played. Let's shift gears just a little bit and talk about the International Traditional Games Society and why that exists, the games, and why it's important. Just a mild, small topic.
So it goes back to the culture.
Okay.
And why the games are important. One of the things that our organization has done is, I believe it was back in 2006, and the games were brought to the
1999 was when this organization was established. In 2001, 2, and 3 was the Lewis and Clark Bicentennial stuff.
Mm-hmm. I was talking about the Fort Belknap, though.
Oh,
the Fort Belknap, I believe it was around 2006, 2007. We brought the games to their community. They had alcohol in every house. The kids weren't going to school. All these bad things happened. We brought the games there, worked with them, and the next year, the founder, Deanna, came back, did more work with them. And in that same community, since bringing back the culture and bringing them together, and them, being able to culturally identify themselves, having that respect for their culture, there was only alcohol left in one house.
Oh,
Wow.
Look at that.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, so it's just, it goes down, the games go down to the culture. You bring the games back, you bring that culture back, that understanding, it gives that youth that feeling of respect.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get on a sob story, but I've been in some bad places. You can get down, especially when you're growing up, and you don't see a light. You know what I mean? And so when you can grab onto something that gives you that light and that self-respect, that could be your way out of that mindset.
And these games are obviously a way that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's neat.
Well, it also, when we teach our kids, we teach them to use their senses, their ability to identify how a person is reacting, how they're reading the room, how they are utilizing their own gut feelings in certain situations, but also games of chance, games of skill. And what we're creating is competent human beings. So as you look at today, we are, engulfed in our own technology. And sometimes we get lost in like our phones or our computer or social media. But we start to lose those natural skills we have as human beings. So by introducing these games, we're able to get them to think for themselves, instead of having another person tell you how it is. So when you get humans to think for themselves, well, they're able to make decisions based on their ability to think. And hopefully it's, in a good way.
It's always the goal.
Yeah.
Well, this is just a huge week of amazing activities. So kudos to you all for the onus of the work that it takes to pull so many pieces together to make that happen. This is going to be amazing.
Yeah. I guess one final thing as we're getting ready to wrap up, what do each of you hope people take away from this event or learn from this event, whether they're a tribal member themselves or from other communities? What do you hope they learn or take away?
I'm hoping for a trophy myself.
Besides prizes, yeah.
I hope people just have a good time. And they make memories and they have a good time, and they can look back at it as a good time. So when this time next year, they'll be like, you know what, we're doing that again.
No.
For the youth conference and this in general, the first thing is, for the youth conference, I didn't get to touch on it as far as the subtopics we're talking about, what we're discussing.
Do it now.
Acceptance, compartmentalization. We're doing, natural learning. So like life experience, there's no better teacher than life. And the last one, it's fleeting me right now, but pretty much they're all things in psychology that are important. So acceptance is pretty much what it means. You know, accepting where you're at, but it doesn't mean accepting defeat. It means accepting where you're at. And I feel like as
Kind of acknowledging where you are and whether you want to stay there or not.
Absolutely. Pretty much any time in your life, being an adult, those are all things we still practice. That's why I emphasize practice, because you're not going to be no expert at these things. And I want the youth to know, because as a youth, I used to think that adults had it all figured out.
Yeah.
And I'm slowly
That was the biggest
realizing.
joke, wasn't
Turns
it?
out we
Yeah.
don't.
Slowly realizing that's not the case. So
Yeah.
I want the youth to know, because when you're a youth, you think you're supposed to be at a certain point in your life. So we all heard it, right? Like, have a house by 25, and
Right. Yep.
baby, and
Yeah.
white picket fence and all
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So I want them to know that your journey is going to be your own journey. Not to compare yourself, to realize where you're at. So getting back to the youth conference, what I want the students to take away is pretty much that there's urban natives, that there's reservation natives, and we're all natives, that we could all be connected. And at the same time, for non-natives, that they, just because we have a different skin tone, doesn't mean that we can be with each other, or I guess just have friends in college. Pretty much, like when I went to college, it would have been nice to know certain people in that area. So I just want the youth to know that you might encounter somebody later on in your life that you never even thought that you would cross paths with again. Same thing goes like with my wife that I have. That's kind of what I learned. Is a lot of these things that life taught me. So I want the students to be receptive to that, because when you're a youth, you think you have it all figured out, and you're not want to be open to no suggestions or anything. So I want the youth to really just be receptive to that.
Yeah.
Because if you asked me 10 years ago if I'd be here, I wouldn't have believed it. And I just want the youth to be receptive to that, because life is going to take you a lot of places, but be open to it, and pretty much just try to be a better person at the end of the day. We all got things that we go through. But that's no excuse to not try to do your part, even as a citizen or on a personal level. Try to be kind to one another. Chief Rocky Boy has a saying that I try to live by. It's be kind to one another, love one another. And that's Chief from my tribe. And pretty much just the fundamental basis of what we try to do that's the whole thing of this gathering of families, is really be connected. We're in these reservations in Montana, we're all displaced. We're also spread out. But that doesn't mean that we can't be connected. Like Brandon was talking about the negatives of social media, the positive is we're still able to do FaceTime. We're still able to do these things. They just got off a call with the tribal council at Fort Belknap. They're able to do that through, video. So same thing with the youth. I want them to know that they can have people in their corner that care about them. And at the end of the day, whatever it is that you want to do, go after it and go get it and work hard. And it's okay to fail. That doesn't define you as a person. And pretty much just, stay upright. Life's going to throw a lot of stuff at you, but that doesn't define you as a person. And all these gentlemen here can attest, we made some mistakes, but we didn't let that define us, and we're trying to do better for the youth and really let them know that, that there's people here that care about them, and at the end of the day, we're all connected in some way. So really just try to take that away with them, and what better place to happen than in Great Falls, Montana.
Yeah.
So true. As Brandon gets ready to tell us what he's hoping to get out of this, I just have to share, like, I hang out with my adult friends. There's a group of 6 of us, and we often look at each other and go, why are we in charge of other human beings, first and foremost? Why does anybody think we're capable of being in charge of ourselves, which is ridiculous?
Yep.
And my husband and I both agree we both need a keeper. Like, we should hire a keeper to continue to supervise us, a parent of some kind. We should not be on our own.
Yeah.
So kids, if you're listening, most of the time we're just making stuff up and hoping it works. All right, Brandon, what are you hoping to hope people take away? What was your question?
Yeah, that.
Take away from the gathering of families.
Well, This is a dream that we've all had, especially with the tribes and people in this community, is that we can all come together, in a good way, and create some camaraderie. We see the division within our own communities, political affiliations, your denominations. We see that every day. But really, we haven't really done anything to help that situation. And this is our way of doing it. So the dream was to bring our children together with our elders. And that's what's happening now. So this was just a discussion last year. This was just words.
Yeah.
And now it's coming into fruition of being a reality. So this reality, we can make it into anything we want. It can go into any direction. But it's really up to the people to come forward and want this. So we've done the work. We've built the platform. We've got the venues. We've got different facilities that are helping us. We have other organizations that come forward that believe in movements like this. And that's what this is a movement. One day, hopefully in the future, I hope to see an Olympics here. Traditional games Olympics. So the original ask came from the state of Montana, Department of Commerce. They asked us to help host a World Nomad Games. And back then when we got asked, like, oh, yeah.
Great idea.
Yeah, great idea.
We'd love to.
Yeah. And, just doing the outreach to all the tribes, to different communities, to other organizations that see themselves being involved. This is something that is needed. People want it, but right now we're building that blueprint where, we're leading the way through all the, all the adversities, all the, stuff that holds us back. And even we have to look in ourselves to repair and heal some of those thoughts, mental health that we have to face as Indigenous people, because historically we come from eugenics. So having that mind frame, it almost holds us back. So this is our way of starting our healing journey together. And we can do it in a big way, or we can keep being stagnant and not moving forward.
So let's move it forward, because that seems like the good plan. Gathering of Families here in Great Falls, October
8th through 14th.
Thank you. And if people want to learn more, everything is on a website, I assume.
Yes, www.gatheringoffamilies.com. I have some information about the Western Native Voice Conference, and we're going to be linking that here shortly.
Perfect.
So I'll go directly to his stuff and for the youth registration and all that.
Great.
It's been I don't think a blast is necessarily the right word, but it's been a good time.
Yeah. Thank you all for coming.
Thanks for sharing the little bit of history that we got to have some information, all the details of the events that are happening. I can't think of a funner way to spend your time at any time of the year.
Yeah.
Then
Fun, educational, important for everybody.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad it's happening in Great Falls. Yeah.
Super stoked about that.
Yeah, we're aiming to make this an annual event,
Yeah.
too.
Good deal.
Okay. So mark your calendars. Be here in October. And if you, for some reason are like, I want to talk to tourism about that, you can call us at 406-761-4436. We will direct you to other people who are smarter than us, because that is what we do. We are not the experts on much of anything.
Nope. They are.
Thank you all for being here. It's really been fun. And until we see your bright, smiling, happy faces here in Great Falls, we hope you are creating amazing memories with your friends and family wherever you might be. See you soon.
We're No Dam Experts is the recorded claims from Great Falls, Montana, covering what you need to know about this amazing dam town. Damn, that felt good.